In this video, we're going to show you how to install the CV axle on your Toyota Camry located behind the driver's side front wheel. Let's go ahead and turn our key to the on position first, and then we'll go ahead and disconnect our ground terminal on our battery. Using a 10mm socket in your 1/4" ratchet, loosen the bolt on the ground terminal. Wiggle that terminal, slide it off, and set it aside. Using our 21mm socket, we're going to loosen and remove the lug nuts. Remove the wheel and set it aside. Now that we have our wheel removed, we now want to remove our axle nut. Now there is a little notch right here in the axle stub shaft here, and normally the axle nut has a little dimple in it to keep it from backing off. So we're going to use a little chisel tip here to go up underneath, and we need to undo that little rolled edge. Using a 30mm 12-point socket, loosen and remove that nut. You do want to make sure that the axle is free floating. So push on that, and this is what you should get. Now, for any reason, if that axle is not free floating, spray around the perimeter here of the wheel hub and the axle with some rust penetrant, and you can use a punch. Go in the center of the axle. Never smash the end of the axle using a hammer, because you can damage the threads and you'll never get that axle nut back on. So put a punch in there, hit it, get it free floating. Now, the reason why we initially started with turning the key to the on position and disconnecting the battery is so that we can do this. Otherwise, the steering wheel will lock and you won't have that ability to rotate this freely, because we're going to be doing this back and forth a few times to perform this job. Now here we have our brake flex hose, and there's a 14mm bolt holding this to the bracket. Loosen and remove this. Remove that and separate that hose like so. Now on the bottom portion of the control arm, right where the ball joint is, going to be 3 pieces here holding it. There's 2 17mm nuts and a 17mm bolt. Loosen and remove them. Now at this point here, we're going to go ahead and pull down on our control arm, separating the ball joint. With that separated, we're now going to start to push the knuckle outward, and we're going to take the CV axle and we want to kind of pull that back. We want to separate those. Now, underneath the front of the vehicle on the bottom side of the engine, we have this splash shield here. We need to remove this to gain access to the inboard portion of our CV axle. Now, this splash shield is held in place by some plastic clips and a few bolts. There's going to be 6 plastic retainers. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're going to use our trim tool to start removing these. You're going to pop out the center section first. Pop out the center, and then when it comes out to a certain point, the base will come out with it. You're going to repeat this process for the other 5. All right, now that we have those out, let's go ahead and get the bolts out. And on the front side here, there's gonna be 4 10mm bolts. There's one on the driver's side up inside this hole right here. You're gonna have to use an extension and a 10mm socket. There's a bolt right here. We're gonna just pull on the cover here to gain access to it. Another one here, and then over on the passenger side, there's another hole we need the extension to get to here. I'm gonna start right in the middle using my ratchet. Should get to a point where you can either use a gear wrench or your fingers to spin this out. Now for the other 2, I'm just going to use a power tool. Now before we pull the cover down, it's always good to wear safety glasses because there will be debris on the top here. Pull it down and set it aside. With the lower splash shield gone, we're going to go ahead and access the inboard portion of the CV axle where it goes into the transmission. Now we do have a catch can underneath. There's a possibility that we're going to lose a little bit of transmission fluid when we pop this out. I'm going to use a pry bar and I'm going to go up between the axle itself and the transmission. And I'm going to gently pry this out. Now with the axle pulled out a little bit, we're going to use our fork here. There it is. Now we're going to go ahead and slide our axle out. Might need a pry bar to give us a little assistance here. Now we're going to slide this out. Let's go ahead and take our axle. We're going to feed this up and we're going to line this up and put it into the transmission. Now the axle is only going to go in so far here into the transmission, but what we're going to do is we're going to use our rubber mallet on the outer end of the axle and we're going to bonk this in. We want to make sure that this metal or tin shield is right up against the seal on the transmission. So if we bring our axle up here, use our rubber dead blow hammer, and you can feel it and hear an audible difference where everything is seated here. So our axle is now seated into the transmission. We're now going to go ahead and put some anti-seize on our splines here and feed that back into the hub. Now we're going to remove our axle nut and we're going to take some anti-seize compound and put some on the spline. So it doesn't have to be a whole ton, just put a little light coating on there. And we do have to flex this over. Go ahead and line this up. And then we're going to pull this back. Now as we're pulling this back, working the axle into the splines here, this is where we're going to start working our ball joint in as well. There it is. Just rotated the wheel hub to get those splines to line up. There it is. So our axle is in the splines in the hub. Our ball joint studs are through. I'm going to go ahead and put the two nuts on the ball joint. I'm going to install the bolts, so press down on the top of the ball joint to get that to line up. Get that bolt started. I'm going to go ahead and zip those down. Let's now torque down our ball joint, 68 foot-pounds for all three of these. Let's install our flex hose. Start that by hand. And we'll go ahead and zip that down. Go ahead and install the axle nut. Let's go ahead and run that down using our 30mm socket. Now from the passenger side, I'm going to grab the wheel assembly and rotate this. I'm going to grab two lug nuts and I'm going to put these on. Make sure that they're side by side here. I'm going to grab our pry bar and our torque wrench and we're going to torque down our axle nut. And we're going to use our lug nuts here to protect our studs. Get our pry bar in there. I'm going to torque this down to 217. Here it is. Now on the axle itself, there's going to be a notch in the shaft itself, and we need to dimple or roll the edge of the axle nut into that. I'm simply going to use my handle for my hammer, rotate this up, remove the lug nuts, set those aside, and I'm going to use my little flat or small edge chisel tip right on the edge here. And we're going to dimple this in. Just need to roll it in just a little bit. Now Now at this point here, with the axle nut dimpled, we're all set here. Let's now install the splash shield on the bottom. Let's install our shield. I'm going to get our bolts up front started here. Now I have 2 bolts in the front holding this in place. I'm going to move to the back and we're going to install 2 push pins just to hold the back end up in place. These will hold everything in place. Now what we can do is go ahead and install the 2 other bolts up in the front. I'm going to install or put the bolt inside the socket on the extension here, feed this up, get that started. Going to do the same on the passenger side. Okay, we have all 4 bolts in. I'm going to go ahead and snug the 2 outer ones down here. Go ahead and snug these down. With the 4 bolts tight, we can now install the remainder of our plastic push pins. Pop these 2 in over here. And we're going to repeat for the driver's side. Install the wheel. Let's go ahead and get all of our lug nuts started. Once we have them all started, we'll come on back and snug them down. Let's go ahead and snug them down. Do not over tighten. Let's now go ahead and torque down our lug nuts to 76 foot-pounds. I prefer to do this in a crisscross pattern. Now let's go ahead and reconnect the ground terminal on the battery, and you can take the car for a road test. Grab the ground terminal, install that, press it down as far as it'll go. Using your 10mm socket, go ahead and snug this down. Once you feel it snug up a little bit, continue to go a little bit more. Give that a good wiggle, make sure that it doesn't twist. You're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.